You know the feeling. A concert pianist, fingers just gliding over the keys, playing a piece they know by heart. The whole room is hanging on every note. And then, a slip. The wrong chord hangs in the air, and just like that, the magic is gone. Or, a basketball player, standing at the free throw line, the whole game is on the line. They've made this exact shot 1,000,000 times. But tonight, with everyone watching, the ball just clangs off the rim. We've all been there, right? That moment of high-stakes failure we call choking. It's got to be one of the most frustrating things our brains do to us.
Seriously, let's really think about this, because it's a huge paradox, isn't it? After you've poured thousands of hours into practicing something, that skill should be totally locked in, almost unbreakable. So why is it that the second the pressure really dials up, the final exam, that huge work presentation, the championship game, your best, most practiced abilities can just poof, vanish into thin air? It honestly feels like your own brain is betraying you. And look, this isn't just some sports cliche or a feeling we get. It's a real, measurable, scientific phenomenon. This quote here is from a 2009 study, and they were looking at people who were total experts in their field. And what they found, which so many other studies have also confirmed, is that even for the pros, adding intense pressure almost always causes their performance to drop. So, the mystery is real. Let's dig in and see if we can figure this out.
So, we're going to tackle this pressure paradox by going inside the mind. To really get it, we need to understand the basic machinery of how we think, and more importantly, how that machinery can just go completely haywire when we're stressed out.
And our first huge clue comes from the work of a Nobel Prize winner, Daniel Kahneman, and his incredible book, Thinking, Fast and Slow. Now, this book isn't specifically about choking, but it gives us the perfect framework, like a user's manual for the brain, to understand the internal battle that causes it all to happen.
So here's the absolute key idea from the book. Our mind is not one single unified thing. No, it's much more like a stage play going on inside our heads, a psychodrama, if you will, with two very, very different main characters who are always on stage together, sometimes working together, and sometimes getting in each other's way. So let's meet these two characters. Kahneman gives them pretty simple names, System 1 and System 2. And I'm telling you, getting to know these two is the key to unlocking everything, from why we make snap judgments to exactly why we choke under pressure.
Okay, so this lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got System 1. Think of it as the hero of the story. It's fast, it's automatic, it's totally intuitive. It runs on gut feelings and works effortlessly in the background, handling thousands of tiny decisions every day without even thinking about it. It's the part of you that recognizes a friend's face in a crowd or drives your car on an empty road. It's the expert. Then you've got System 2, the controller. This one is slow, deliberate, and it takes real conscious effort. This is the part of your brain that kicks in when you have to solve a tough math problem. It's the thinker. So System 1 is always on, feeding you impressions, while System 2 is kind of lazy and only gets called in for the really heavy lifting.
Here is a brilliant example of System 1 just doing its thing. Take a look at that shape in the middle of both of those lines. Physically, it's the exact same shape, but you didn't see an ambiguous blob, did you? Of course not. In the top line with the letters, you instantly saw a B. In the bottom line with the numbers, you instantly saw 13. You didn't consciously choose to do that. Your System 1 just took a look at the context and gave you the answer that made the most sense, instantly and automatically. That's its superpower. All right, let's switch gears. Quick, what is 17 times 24? Just try to solve it in your head. Notice what's happening. An answer doesn't just pop in there, does it? There's no flash of intuition. Your System 1 might tell you it's not 5,000 and it's not 100. But to get the real answer, something else has to fire up.
That feeling of mental strain, the one where you're deliberately pulling up the rules of multiplication, trying to hold numbers in your memory and really focusing, that is the feeling of your System 2 getting activated. Your pupils might have even dilated a bit. Your heart rate may have ticked up. System 2 is expensive to run. It burns through mental energy. It only gets called off the bench when System 1 sees a problem it can't handle. And that, by the way, is why you can feel completely exhausted after a day of tough meetings, even if you never actually left your chair.
But System 2 has this one massive weakness. Its attention is incredibly limited. Like Kahneman says here, when we're intensely focused, it can make us effectively blind. This was shown in one of the most famous psychology experiments ever, often called the invisible gorilla. In it, people were asked to watch a video of two teams passing basketballs and count the number of passes for one of the teams, a task that demands the full, focused attention of System 2.
So while people are laser-focused on counting these passes,
A person in a full-on gorilla costume walks right into the middle of the game, thumps their chest, and then walks right off. The gorilla's on screen for 9 whole seconds. And the crazy result? About half of the people who do this experiment never see the gorilla at all. Their system 2 is so busy with the counting task that it just filters out this giant, bizarre thing happening right in front of their eyes. That's the price of focus. So we have this fast, automatic, expert system and a slow, deliberate thinking system. So what in the world does this have to do with becoming a master pianist or a pro athlete? Well, it turns out it's everything. It's all about training your autopilot.
Just think back to when you were learning to drive a car. As a total novice, every single little thing, checking the mirror, the pressure on the gas pedal, the angle of the steering wheel, it's all a conscious, effortful System 2 job, and it's exhausting. But then you practice, and slowly you start handing those jobs off. They become more and more automatic, and finally, you become an expert. You can drive down the highway, deal with traffic, even have a conversation, all while your expert System 1 runs the whole show on autopilot. That complex skill is now fast, intuitive, and unconscious. And that is the goal of all high-level training.
And right here, this is where our whole story takes a very dark turn. Because the exact process that makes you an expert also creates the perfect storm for choking. This is the moment where our slow, clumsy thinker, System 2, decides to jump in and help the expert, System 1, and ends up sabotaging the entire operation.
Scientists actually have a name for this, the monitoring hypothesis, and it's pretty much the main explanation for why we choke. See, when the stakes get high, we get nervous. We start to worry about messing up, and in that split second of doubt, we call in our conscious, deliberate System 2 to supervise. We start thinking about the mechanics of our golf swing, or the exact placement of our fingers on the piano keys. And this conscious overanalysis, this monitoring, completely shatters the fluid, fast, automatic performance of our expert System 1.
And hey, this isn't just a theory, there's hard data to back it up. A 2004 study on elite college baseball players found something really fascinating. They put them under pressure, and sure enough, their performance tanked. But it wasn't because they were distracted by the crowd or something. No, the problem was an inward shift in attentional focus. In other words, they started thinking too much about the how of their swing, the very movements that had become totally automatic for them long ago.
So you can see this tragic cascade of events, like dominoes falling. It all starts with high-stakes pressure. That pressure creates doubt. You start to second-guess your highly trained automatic System 1. In that moment, you call in your slow, clumsy, step-by-step System 2 to take over and make sure you do it right. But System 2 is a total beginner at this. By trying to break the skill down into pieces, it just disrupts the smooth expert flow. And the result? Your performance completely falls apart. You choke. But you know what? Understanding this drama between our two systems doesn't just solve the puzzle. It actually points us directly to the solution. It's all about knowing which system you should trust and when.
And this brings us to a really powerful and kind of counterintuitive idea. We are always told to just focus more and try harder when the pressure is on. But for an expert, someone whose skills are automatic, that is the single worst piece of advice you could give. Trying harder in the sense of using your conscious, analytical System 2 to monitor what you're doing, well, that's literally the definition of sabotage.
So the solution is to learn how to trust your training. It's about having the confidence to let go of that conscious control and just let your expert System 1, the one you've spent thousands of hours building, run the show on autopilot. You know when great performers talk about being in the zone or in a flow state? What they're really describing is a state where that clumsy, second-guessing System 2 finally shuts up and the brilliant, intuitive System 1 is allowed to do its thing without any interference. And this all leaves us with one last, really fascinating question to chew on. We've learned that for an expert performing a skill, System 2 jumping in is a disaster. But we also know that our intuition, our System 1, can be full of biases and jump to the wrong conclusions in other parts of our lives. So the real challenge, the ultimate skill, might be developing the wisdom to know when to trust your gut and when it's time to slow down and really think things through. But mastering that, well, that's a paradox for another day. I really hope this explainer gave you a new way to think about how you perform under pressure. If you found it helpful, please do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the explainer for more deep dives into the weird and wonderful machinery of our minds. Thanks for watching.